You know, for a little while there, it really seemed like the AI race was all about the other guys catching up to OpenAI. Well, that script just got flipped. OpenAI has officially declared a code red, and its name is GPT 5.2. And trust me, this isn't just another update. It's a bold move that's about to completely shake up the AI world.
So this release forces us to ask a really big question. Has OpenAI just snatched its crown back? Did they reclaim the throne at the very top of the AI pyramid? Let's jump into the data and see what it's telling us.
So what exactly is this code red? It's GPT 5.2, and let's be crystal clear about this. It is a direct, powerful, and very intentional response to the huge strides we've seen from Google's Gemini and Anthropic's Opus. The game is definitely on.
Okay, so how do we even begin to measure this new power? Well, we have to start with the benchmarks. And what we're seeing here isn't just a slight improvement. No, this is a statement. It's about pure dominance.
Just look at this table. Right across the board, on pretty much every major industry benchmark, GPT 5.2 is now the new state of the art. It's not just squeaking by Gemini 3 Pro and Opus 4.5, it is consistently and decisively outperforming them. That is a massive flex from OpenAI. But if you really want to see just how huge this leap is, you gotta look at the RKGI 2 benchmark. This thing is an incredibly difficult test. The previous best score was sitting around 33%. GPT 5.2 just casually dropped a score over 54%. That's an improvement of almost 85%. I mean, that is a staggering, almost unbelievable jump in capability.
So yeah, it's a near-perfect report card. GPT 5.2 is sitting at #1 on the benchmarks that really matter for raw intelligence, reasoning, and coding. But, and this is interesting, it's not a total clean sweep. In the very specific world of web development, it seems Anthropic's Opus 4.5 is still holding a slight edge. So what does this tell us? While OpenAI is clearly dominant, the competition is absolutely still in this fight.
So benchmark scores are impressive, right? But what do they actually mean for us, for the people using this stuff? Let's go beyond the numbers and look at the actual new capabilities this model unlocks, because this is where things get really exciting. OpenAI was super clear about their goals with this release. They didn't just sprinkle a few improvements here and there. Nope. They focused hard on these 5 core areas to deliver a massive leap in what this model can actually do.
And here's a perfect example of one of those focus areas in action: long context. We're looking at the classic needle in a haystack test. Just notice how the older model's performance completely falls off a cliff as the document gets longer. But GPT 5.2, it stays rock solid, just cruising along. This is a total game changer for anyone who has to analyze huge documents or long conversations.
Okay, so what happens when we make the test even harder, when we throw 8 needles into that haystack? You can see the performance does start to dip a bit, but, and this is the really crucial part, even at its weakest point here, it's still more than twice as good as the previous model. That is a huge, huge leap in reliability. And speaking of reliability, this number right here is a really big deal. We're talking about a nearly 30% reduction in hallucinations. To put it simply, that just means the model is more trustworthy. It makes stuff up way less often, which is absolutely critical if you're trying to use AI in any kind of professional setting. And there are some really important upgrades happening under the hood, too. First, for the first time since GPT-4, we've got native image generation back in an OpenAI model. That's huge. Plus, the knowledge cutoff is much more recent, so it's more up to date with the world. And maybe the most important bit, this whole thing is built on a completely new foundation, a new pre-trained model, which means all future improvements are going to be starting from a much, much stronger place. All right, so we've got better scores, we've got better features, but the big question everyone's asking is, so what? How does all this technical wizardry actually translate into real-world value? That's what we're going to dive into next, and frankly, it seems to be OpenAI's main focus with this whole release. This right here, this is the kind of number that makes business leaders sit up and pay attention. A recent study found that AI was already saving enterprise users between 40 and 60 minutes every single day. So with the massive leap in capabilities we're seeing in GPT 5.2, you can bet the goal is to push that number way, way higher. To measure this, OpenAI actually created a brand new benchmark they're calling the GDP wall. Now, this isn't about solving some abstract puzzle. This is all about whether the AI can do real knowledge work better than a human professional.
And GPT 5.2 is the first model they have ever tested that shows what they're calling economically viable output. That is a massive milestone. This quote from one of OpenAI's top researchers really gets to the heart of the matter. As these models get smarter, they also get more efficient. The cost to actually perform these incredibly complex tasks is dropping like a rock. And that, right there, is what makes all this incredible power actually feasible to use in the real world.
Okay, so with this massive release now out in the wild, where does the AI race even go from here? Well, if we look closely at how OpenAI is actually presenting this new model, we can find some pretty fascinating clues about what's coming next. First off, it's not just one model. It's actually a family of 3, and each one is tailored for a different kind of need. You've got Instant for all the quick, everyday tasks. Then there's Thinking for the more complex, deeper stuff. And finally, you have Pro for those truly difficult problems where you need the absolute best quality. This tiered approach shows OpenAI is thinking very strategically about how to get their AI into everyone's hands.
And all of this brings us to a really fascinating question. I mean, think about it. This is arguably the biggest leap in AI performance we've seen in a long time. It puts OpenAI squarely back on top. So why on earth would they call it GPT 5.2? Why such a minor version number for such a monumental release? Well, the most logical conclusion is also the most terrifying one for the competition. By calling this massive upgrade a simple point release, OpenAI is sending a very clear signal to the world. This isn't even our final form. They have something even bigger, something even better, just waiting in the wings.
And that leaves us with one final thought to really chew on. As these amazing frontier models from OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic all get incredibly powerful, maybe the race isn't really about who has the single highest benchmark score anymore. Maybe, just maybe, the real winner will be whoever empowers the rest of us to build the most useful, the most transformative applications on top of their platform. And that, my friends, is the next chapter in this incredible story.